Hello students, you are welcome to today's class. I'm sure you can see the topic on the board, and the topic says for animation, separating HTML and CSS. The next line says the use of class. Now what does all this mean? Up till now, we have been writing our HTML and CSS together. I'm sure most of you are wondering, what is CSS? You already know HTML, hypertext markup language. But the question is, where does CSS come from? Let's first talk about the meaning of CSS. CSS means cascading style sheets. Let me write that down so everybody can you get it. Because it sounds large. Cascading style sheets. Cascading style sheets. That's what CSS means. Now you ask yourself, why the name cascading style sheets, and what are cascading style sheets? Alright, now I'll tell you. Cascading style sheets is a concept because people believe that either design or complex software structure we deal with directives. What is a directive? A directive is something that contains many files. And they believe that the files will lie down like this. One on top, another one under, followed by another one, followed by another one, and all of them will be working together to make a software. This thing you are looking at, we call it cascading. Cascading. Do you understand? Cascading means coming down, coming down. So when we say cascading style sheets, the name just stuck. And that is why they now call it cascading style sheets, even though the concept might not really be for style sheets anymore. CSS now refers to what? Design. The language of what? Design. The language of design. That's what CSS is the language of design. So let's look at our code. The code that you guys have been writing. Let's look at it. Let's write one example just to create a rectangle which everybody is familiar with. I'm going to extend this because we know it's going to be very long. Alright. We are familiar with this div, right? We are familiar with the closing tag. This thing you are looking at, tag is HTML. Anything tag is HTML. This is HTML. But immediately I come here and I write style. Oh, equals this. This thing I'm writing, this thing called style, in which I'm going to write the characteristics of my div, whether it should be a square, whether it should be a circle, whether it should be a rectangle, triangle, whatever. The fact that I'm going to write that there to shape it, to give it color, is the CSS. This style is CSS. So when I say background color is CSS. If I say height, that's CSS. 200 px. If I say width, it's still CSS. 300, 200 px. If I now say box shadow, it's still what? CSS. If I say border, but it's still what? CSS. Is that clear? When we say border and we come with solid first, it's still what? CSS. So the question we ask ourselves is this. We say, how do we make this thing work? How do we now separate it? Because the next thing we want to do is animation. Animation cannot work with inline styling. What you have been doing so far all this one we have been writing our style inside the tag as we are blending HTML and CSS together is called in styling. Let me write that down somewhere so that we see the word. It's called what? In styling. That's what we call it in coding. In styling. Are you getting me? But in styling cannot be used for animation because of something called keyframes. In animation, we are going to be using keyframes. Is that clear? What did I call it? Keyframes. Because of keyframes, we cannot run animation with in styling. So the first thing we have to learn is how do we separate our CSS from our what? How do we separate our CSS from whatever we are doing, from our HTML, and still get our rectangular box and its shadow and its border? Let us try that. Alright, so I'm going to shift everything to one side now, and then we continue with a kind of how do you go about it? Alright, let me just read. Okay, so we continue with a kind of structure. So I'm going to look at our normal rectangle. I'm not going to delete this because it's a normal rectangle. I'm going to now write our CSS rectangle. So let's just say this is our normal rectangle, right? Which we are used to. Okay, let's keep it here. Let's keep it here. The next thing we are going to do is, let us now write the separate version. The one in which we are going to separate HTML and CSS. Now, this brings us to the most important thing in this class, the use of class. Why the use of class? Because when you want to separate HTML and CSS, you need to give that CSS a name. It is that name you are going to use to call the CSS into the HTML tag. And that name is called a class. Is that clear? That was what our topic was for animation. We are separating HTML and CSS with the use of class. So you are going to see me now. I'm going to demonstrate it by writing this code, which is this our rectangle code. But this time around, I'm writing it using separation, using class, separating HTML and CSS. Okay, let's go. All right. So this is how I'm going to do it. Let us start from HTML so that things are simpler instead of starting from CSS. Because if we start from CSS, it's like we are styling something that doesn't exist yet. But if we start with HTML, the thing exists, then we now style it. Just like when you're writing your code normally with in styling. Is that clear? Alright, so let's do that here. Let me label this one in styling. And then I can now call the new one I want to write block. So in styling. I'll now call the new one I want to write block. Okay, let's go. In styling and block. Okay. Now let's go with in styling. Let's go with block rather. The first thing we do is we will create our div. And one more thing is block styling is much neater than in styling. And you'll see how beautiful it is when I do it. So we create a div. Normally, the way we create divs, we are not changing now. We are not changing that. So this is our HTML tag. But we are going to do something interesting now. Instead of saying style equals background color, height, width, box shadow, border, no, we will not do that. We will simply come here and say class equals whatever we want to name it. What are we going to name it? Let us name it rectangle. Rectangle. Can you see that? Oh, so that is it. So what this thing is telling us is that whatever this div is, we are going to style it to form a rectangle. Is that clear? All right, cool. But rectangle does not exist yet. We are now going to use CSS to put things inside rectangle. So let's go ahead. Now, in my CSS, I'm going to create what we call a style tag. Just like our div tag, we have what we call style tag. Okay, so let's do that. All right, this one is blocking my view. So I'm just trying to take it out as much as I can so that it doesn't block our view too much. Okay, so style. So I create the style tag. I open it and I close it. Now, inside this tag, we will now define dot rectangle. The reason why we are doing dots is because it's a class. Always put dots. That dot is what makes you be able to call it here under class. If I don't put dot and I put hash, I have to call it under ID. But that's for another class. That's for another lecture. We have used the word class now. So we have to use lecture for our, you know what I mean? All right. So now we have to use dots in order to be able to engage with class. So if I say dot anything in this style, I can use it inside my HTML tag by simply labeling it class. Is that clear? All right. So dot rectangle. Okay. Now, dot rectangle is going to have an opening curly brace and a closing curly brace. We will now do this, separating the opening and the closing curly braces. I want to move these ones out of the way so that I can bring that one up. Okay, there we are. Yes, better. So now, inside this place now, that is where we are going to define everything we want to do. So to make the code look neat, we are going to space it. Don't mind me, I have a new keyboard, so I'm playing around. So I just I just created a caps lock instead of tab. Right. So let's space this 4. Is that clear? And let's go up and 2, 3, 4 and space it 4. Okay? All right. So now this is our open curly brace, and this is our open radar, and this is our closed curly brace. And inside that, between the two of them, we are going to be writing all our styling. What are the styles? Background color. Now remember, don't forget, let's go about it again. In order to invoke the class, you open the style tag, close the style tag, inside dot, whatever the name of the class is, and then you put a curly brace in front, another curly brace after one space, and in between the two curly braces, you start writing your CSS attributes, your styling. What was style equal to? You write them here line by line, making it neater. So background color, I can put it, we are still using our colon and semicolon, don't forget. Background color, I can now say blue, right? Okay. Also, after background color, what next? Let's now say height. Height. Okay. The height is 200 px. All right. Let's do 1, 2, 3, 4. Width. Width is also 200 px for width. Also 200 px. Width. All right. Now, after that, we go into 3, 4. We have height, we have width, and then the next thing, border or shadow. So let's go for box shadow, which we did in the last class, and then that will give us what? Let's look at what box shadow is. The first thing is the color. So let's say red. Then we have our horizontal displacement, 20 px, or let's make it 30 px, 40 px anyway. Vertical displacement 40 px. Our blur, let's make that 20 px, and our spread, we can make that 10 px, so that it doesn't cover the entire thing and can be well positioned. That's box shadow. Okay, let's do border. Do we remember border? Yes, it's a lot. B-O-R-D-E-R or B-O-D-E-R, border. Anyway, B-O-R-D-E-R. So we do that and we spread it. So in front of the border, what do we have? We now have the things we want to use. So the first one will be solid, because we want the border to be solid. Then the stuff will now be our structural color. So solid blue, and then we have the thickness and other things. So we can go with 10 px. Is that clear? All right. This guarantees our border. Okay. So now let us go to our editor and see if all this stuff works. Is that clear? Let's go to our editor and see if it works. And see if it works. So we see how it works. Is that clear? Now, we've seen the box shadow. We have worked with the border, right? Then, let us take this to the editor. Okay? Into the editor. I'm going to copy this now. All right. Okay. Let's look at that. Control C. Control C. I use my keyboard to copy it. So let's go and paste that in our editor. Oh. So, let me just give you a sneak peek of what we'll be doing next week. Do you understand? So, oh, can you see that? That's what we'll be doing. Do you see it's moving? Oh, but I'm not going to teach you now. That's what we're going to be doing next week. Isn't that fantastic? Animation. So I'm going to close this animation code now. I'm giving you a sneak peek. But see now, isn't that beautiful? Can you see how we have done it? I know most of you are like, wow, just calm down, calm down. By next class, you will see the animation. But you have to learn the separation first before you do animation. Is that clear? All right. So now, can you see now? We've written all our styling inside a separate tag. But our manifestation is in a separate tag. So in order to take that styling and put it into the div, which is the manifestation, that's where we now use class. And we've given it a name, .rectangle. The dot is to make us say class, so rectangle is the name. The dot is to let the system know that it is a class that can be called into any div. Is that clear? So we can even use it twice by putting another one under. Can you see? You can use it as many times as possible because you have given it a name, rectangle. You don't have to write it again. Can you see how beautiful block styling is now? All right. So that's what this class is about. Okay, so for classwork, you are going to create 3 rectangles. 1 blue, 1 green, 1 red, with shadows of different colors, and you are going to use block styling. Remember to also add your border. So the rectangle you are going to create, the 3 of them, they must have shadow, they must have border, and they must be done with block styling, not in styling. All right, that's the end for this class. It's been beautiful teaching you guys. Thank you very much. As I said, you can reach me. For those of you who are watching this class on YouTube, you can reach me on my number on WhatsApp, 081-3662-8035. We are going to be dropping our teaching platform link for those of you who would like to register on the teaching platform. But as of now, if you reach out to me on WhatsApp, we'll register you on the teaching platform and you can continue to learn about HTML styling and code from the executive tutor myself. Thank you.